So next we'll go through several muscles in the face and the neck. My goal with these sections is to highlight the origins, insertions, and actions of specific muscles that I find important or frequently asked about. It's not going to be an exhaustive walkthrough of every single muscle in the body. So on the face, we have the epicranius frontalis, sometimes just called the frontalis, and you've got two sides here. And this is going to raise the eyebrows. So it's going to contract this way to raise the eyebrows. The insertion point for this one is the eyebrows here, because that's what it's moving. And the origin is this big aponeurosis. So an aponeurosis is a really thin sheet of connective tissue, and we have several of these throughout the body, that muscles can attach to this aponeurosis, and it gives them something to pull against when they're not inserted directly on a muscle or a bone, when they're not originating directly on a bone. Another muscle of note here is the orbicularis oculi, the circular muscle. It's going to originate here at this tendon, which is going to be at the frontal bone and the maxillary bone. And the insertion is here on the eyelid, because that's what it's moving. So the action of this is going to be to close the eye, because it contracts and tightens and then lowers the eyelid. The orbicularis oris, we've got another circular muscle here surrounding the lips, which is going to close the mouth and protrude the lips. This is your duck lips muscle. So it's going to originate here on the maxilla and the mandible, and then insert here on the upper lip, which is what it moves. Another one of note here is the platysma. So you can see a lot of time in these pictures, the left side will show superficial muscles, whereas the right side, they've been cut away. So on the right side, you can see that this muscle is cut. But the platysma muscle is a muscle that runs throughout the neck all the way through the thorax of the body, and it originates on the bottom of the skin. So if you grab the kind of looser skin around your neck, you're actually probably also grabbing that platysma muscle. In other animals like horses and cats, this muscle can actually be seen. If you've ever seen horses kind of have a shiver or a ripple down their back, that's the platysma muscle. Not so in humans, but it attaches to the mandible, which is our dentary bone, and helps to depress the mandible. Some of the muscles involved with chewing. So our main two chewing muscles are the temporalis, which when you get a tension headache and you kind of rub the side of your head, you're rubbing the temporalis. And then we also have the masseter, which is down here on the side. So these are both going to be involved with chewing. They both elevate the mandible. So if you move your jaw, like lower the jaw and then close your mouth and put your hand up on your temporal, you'll be able to feel that temporalis, and on the side of your mouth, that masseter moving. Another muscle of the mouth right here is the buccinator. This is a fairly deeper muscle, and this is going to compress the cheeks. So this is going to decrease the volume of space within inside the mouth, and it inserts all the way up here on the orbicularis oris. So sometimes a muscle will actually insert on another muscle. And then here are the muscles of the neck. The digastric is actually two separate muscles. It has an anterior belly, so anterior on both sides, and posterior on both sides. So literally the name digastric means two belly, gastro is stomach, di is two, so it's got 1, 2. And then my personal favorite muscle is the sternocleidomastoid. So it starts up here, it actually splits into two different heads down there, and attaches to your sternum, your clavicle, and your skull. You can see it in this picture as well. Here's where it splits and then goes all the way up to the skull. So this name, sternocleidomastoid, is actually very descriptive. So sterno That's talking about here, where it inserts on the sternum. Cleido means clavicle, so that's talking about here, where it inserts on the clavicle. So this muscle has two insertions. And then mastoid is talking about up here, where it originates on the mastoid process, right? That kind of large bulby process of the skull. So I like this muscle because it's got this really long complex name, but if you break it down, it's just telling you where this muscle actually attaches to your skeleton. So take a moment and explain the actions, origins, and insertion of my favorite, the sternocleidomastoid muscle.